What's going on, everybody? The NFL season is about to kick off with less than 6 weeks to go. And with the opening kickoff, it's going to be one of the greatest NFL seasons of its time here in 2022 and the 2023 season. So, we're going to be kicking off with some really, really good games this year with so many great teams as far as we're talking Bills, we're talking Bengals, Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos. Uh, you name it. The Ravens could be up there too. Some really, really good teams this year. So we've got a lot to go over. So what I did is I picked a lot of the best games for the week for each week of the season. And I'm going to talk a little bit about each game that I believe is going to be the best for the NFL season for each week, starting with week 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So what do you guys think? Do you guys agree with my picks? Do you guys disagree with the picks of some of the best games for each week? Well, let me know in the comments down below and put a like on this video if you like it. This is your boy James here, and we are about to get started. Let's kick off with the first game of the week, which is going to be in week 1, kickoff actually for Thursday night football. Although it's being aired on NBC as like a Sunday night football kind of thing, but really it's being kicked off on Thursday night football, and it's the opening game, and it's the Buffalo Bills going to the Los Angeles Rams. How can you go wrong with this game? There's no other better game to start off the season with than Josh Allen going at it against Matthew Stafford and the Rams. This is a great matchup between the two teams. You've got two really explosive offenses on both sides for both teams, with Josh Allen and Matthew Stafford just going out there balling it out to their best receivers, some of their best running backs. And then you also got two elite defenses, with the Buffalo Bills defense now having Von Miller on their team, who was a recent Super Bowl champ with the Los Angeles Rams a year ago. And this is going to be an interesting game in that aspect, because the Rams are going to be releasing the banner for that first opening game with the Bills and the Rams. So I really like this matchup. I think this is the best matchup of an opening kickoff game and that there has been in a really, really long time. I'm excited for this game. I can't wait to watch it. Yeah, it's going to be electrifying. So this is great. Okay, so we're going on to week 2, and week 2 is another Thursday night football game. Yes, Thursday night, and a lot of other primetime games. There are a lot of really good primetime games this year, and I picked them for their those personal reasons, as far as like either explosive offense and or explosive defenses. But in week 2, we've got the Los Angeles Chargers going to the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a really good matchup here. This is actually one of the games in the AFC West this year that's going to really be critical for all 4 teams. And I think the Chargers, who've done a lot in the offseason this year in terms of revamping on that offensive line and being able to revamp on that defense as well. There's a lot of really, really good things going on with the Chargers right now. I think Justin Herbert is a baller. He's going to really compete and take advantage of that, lacking secondary in Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes should have a great game too, but it's going to be earlier in the year. He's going to be wanting to learn the offense without Tyreek Hill. So it's going to be a little bit challenging for him to beat the Chargers, at least this year. So I think this is going to be a great matchup in Arrowhead between two really explosive quarterbacks who have amazing arms and can make anything happen. So this is my week 2 best game of the week. Okay, so then we go to week 3. There's no other game than having two, all-time, I guess you could call them, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now. The Green Bay Packers going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady. Doesn't get any better than that. Both quarterbacks are future Hall of Famers. They both have a lot to really rely on this year, as far as like trying to win that one last Super Bowl ring before either one retires. The only question about this game is going to be on the Green Bay side with Aaron Rodgers and how he's going to react without Devontae Adams being there. But I think this is going to be an interesting game to see between both these two teams, having two legendary quarterbacks go at it one another. Tom Brady, it's always fun to watch Tom Brady play some really elite teams. and elite quarterbacks as well. So this is going to be a really intriguing game for both teams, really. I think it's going to be an exciting game, and I think it's a game that's really worth mentioning. So Green Bay at Tampa Bay, get your popcorn ready, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a great game in week 3. Okay, our next game is in week 4. How can you go wrong with this game right here in week 4? The Kansas City Chiefs going back to take on their revenge to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers after losing in the Super Bowl almost 2 seasons ago. This is a great rematch between the two teams, two really good quarterbacks, and Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. They're both, obviously, they're definitely future Hall of Famers. In my book, I believe there's a lot to really know about both of these teams here. Patrick Mahomes, he's going to throw the ball to any kind of wide receiver that is open. He might run the ball a little bit. They're running backs and Ronald Jones. This will be a Ronald Jones revenge game after he was traded from the Bucs to the Chiefs this year. Tom Brady he might be able to slice up on that secondary of Kansas City that's very lacking with all the weapons that he now has with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Julio Jones, who was just added the other day. Kyle Rudolph could be a big factor in that. Tyler Johnson, Scotty Miller, Leonard Fournette in the running game. There's so many great players on the Bucs side, whereas Kansas City will have obviously Patrick Mahomes. They're going to have Juju Smith-Schuster. They're going to have Travis Kelce, Ronald Jones, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They have a lot of really good offensive players. I think both of these teams can and should really be able to take advantage of either one of these two defenses that may be lacking some skill. So I really like this matchup here. I think this is a really good rematch of a Super Bowl matchup that's happening this year. I believe this might be one of the only few. I think this might be the only one that I know of, at least in recent times, of a recent Super Bowl matchup that really stands out still. So Chiefs, Bucks, this is going to be a really good game. Okay, so then we go to week 5. And this was kind of an interesting one. I had to really think about the different teams that were playing on this week. But I chose, in a close call, I chose the Bengals and the Ravens, going to the Baltimore Ravens. This was a tough one for me to really choose on a Sunday night, like Kansas City and the Bucs. It's also a primetime Sunday night game. The Bengals and the Ravens, this should be a really electrifying matchup between both Lamar Jackson and his running game versus Joe Burrow and that passing attack with some really elite receivers in T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, and a strong run game with Joe Mixon. This is a really good matchup between the two teams. I think now that the Ravens should be pretty healthy for the most part, we're going to see how Lamar does against an improved Cincinnati defense. They were good last year, but I think their defense has actually gotten pretty better than it has been in recent times. But nonetheless, two really good quarterbacks in the same division. That's kind of rare to find that in the NFL at times. But this is going to be a great matchup. The Bengals and the Ravens, this is a game to really look out for when the season comes around. So definitely look forward to seeing this game. And then you go to week 6. How can you not? I mean, just seriously, how can you not pick the Bills and the Chiefs playing in week 6? How can you not choose this as like the best game of the week in week 6? This is a rematch of one of the greatest playoff games that was ever played in the NFL history between two really electrifying quarterbacks in Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, two defenses that can't stop each other for the life of them. Both offenses explosive for both teams, like it was last year in the playoffs. This is just a great matchup of a great rematch, I should say, of a game that has really lived up to its time. You still hear about it all the time. The Bills are very feisty. They're going to want to get that revenge on Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and Andy Reid after losing last year, where they really should have won with 13 seconds left in the Bills. But the Bills Mafia, this is a tough and improved team by the Bills. The defense added Von Miller. That definitely does help their defense a lot. So this team is going to come in very feisty. They're going to want to give the Chiefs a loss here. I could definitely see that happening. But this is just a great matchup. You can't go wrong with either the Bills or the Chiefs in this game. Either way, this is a great matchup in Week 6. Can't go wrong with that. So go Bills, go Chiefs, whatever you want to say. You know, this is a great matchup for both teams in that aspect. Okay, so another really good team, another really good game, I should say, that you guys really should be looking on to is a game actually in the AFC South. And surprisingly enough, some people might think and scratch the question, is it really going to be a good game? I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be like an old school type of football game, and that's with the Indianapolis Colts going to the Tennessee Titans to play the Titans. This is a great game for a couple of reasons. One, because I think both defenses are very old school. They're both actually very underrated, in my opinion. And they're both very one-dimensional teams, if you know what I mean. They're both going to rely on heavily on the run game with Jonathan Taylor for the Colts, Derrick Henry with the Titans, a healthy Derrick Henry, that is, if he can stay healthy this time around. But this game right here, I like old school football. I like defensive football. I think they're one of the most exciting ways to watch like a football game. This is a great game for either team. I think a lot of it is going to be run based. I think you're not going to see the quarterback really make a lot of big plays. I think it's going to be old school style with running. But this also is going to probably really pertain to the AFC South title. So either one of these teams could beat one another, and this could be like a difference maker into the divisional crown. Although it's really, really early in the season for that, but this game could really make a difference in that aspect. So I really am looking forward to this second matchup here between the Colts and the Titans. I think both matchups will be good, but I think in Week 7 they get the best matchup of that week because it's a tough place to play in Tennessee, and we're gonna see how who's gonna have the better game and who's the better running back here. Basically, is it either going to be Jonathan Taylor or if it's going to be Derrick Henry? So this is a really good game. I like this game a lot. So go to the both teams really. Then you go to Week 8. This is going to be interesting to see, depending on the whole Deshaun Watson suspension and how that's going to go. He may or may not be back at this time, but right now I'm going to place it as one of the best games of the week. The Bengals at the Browns in Week 8. Like I said, this could really very well depend on Deshaun Watson if he is going to be out of suspension at this point in time. But right now, we're just going to say he might be already done with his suspension by then. It's either 6 to 8 games he's going to be suspended for. But nonetheless, Deshaun Watson, Joe Burrow, this is an epic matchup between both quarterbacks playing in the same division. When you have three really, really electrifying quarterbacks that are playing in the same division, you got to root for that. That's just amazing for that to happen. But nonetheless, though, the Bengals, the Browns, it's going to be a great matchup between both Ohio, I can't speak, Ohio teams in the Bengals and the Browns. It's a great rivalry that I think is going to start brewing within the next couple of years with a strong run game in the Browns and a strong passing game with Joe Burrow with the Bengals. But Deshaun Watson could make that difference. He could make some big plays against the Cincinnati defense that could make the difference in this game. The Browns do have a potential that could give the Bengals their first loss of the season at this point in the season. I really like this matchup. Yeah, go ahead. Go Joe Burrow. Go Cleveland. All right, that's Week 8 for you. So then we go to Week 9. This is another playoff rematch that I'm loving to see. I really want to see how this really turns out this time. The Los Angeles Rams going to the Tampa Bay Bucks. This is a rematch from the divisional round from a year ago. This was actually played the same day as the Bills and the Chiefs. Now, with this game here, we all know what happened last year. Brady was down 27-3. And then he made his all the way back to tie the game at 27. And then that defense that utterly failed to cover Cooper Kupp left him wide open. having Matthew Stafford throw to him and then get a field goal to win it in the final seconds of the game, 30-27, and what could have been another great Brady comeback in that game. But nonetheless, I think both of these teams are the two top teams in the NFC side of the league. I'm really looking forward to this game. I think both defenses are improved. They seem to be on the right track. They're going to be better on the defensive side. But we're also going to see now with Tampa Bay and a healthy offensive squad. Chris Godwin should probably be back already by this point in the season. I think he's going to miss some time with his ACL surgery. Then you have Mike Evans, and then you have Julio Jones. That's going to help this offense out a lot, and Russell Gage as well. And then on the other side with the Rams, you've got Cooper Kupp, you've got Allen Robinson, Cam Akers is going to be back, a healthy Cam Akers at least, Tyler Higbee, and they both of these teams are at the top right now of the NFC. It's going to be really, really fun to watch these teams go at it. Honestly, I think in this game, the defense may not even exist in this game. That's how electrifying both of these offenses are. I'm looking forward to this game. Let's get at it. And then you go to week 10, the battle between the two California teams in the Los Angeles Chargers and the San Francisco 49ers. Now, the reason why I'm saying, and some people might disagree with me, but the reason why I am saying that this is going to be a really good game is not because it's in-state, but what I like about this matchup here, Justin Herbert versus Kyle Shanahan's defense. Think about that for a second. This San Francisco defense is one of the best defenses in the league right now. Now, am I saying the 49ers are a great team? Are they going to be able to beat the Chargers? I'm not saying they can't. It's very well possible, but I think the reason if the 49ers do win is not going to be on Trey Lance. I think it's most likely going to be on that defense from Kyle Shanahan. And with Justin Herbert, as much as I love Justin Herbert, and I think he's an absolute baller in every format, it's very tough for him. This is going to be a really tough game, and this is going to be one of the best defenses he's probably going to face all year. So I'm interested to see how his receivers in Keenan Allen, Mike Williams is going to do against the 49ers secondary and that strong defensive line. So this is going to be a really good game. I think either one of these two teams could win this game. It could be a low-scoring game, or it could be a high-scoring game where like Trey Lance just goes off and starts balling the ball out to like a George Kittle or a Deebo Samuel. But nonetheless, it's a great game. Great quarterback versus great defensive mind of a coach in Kyle Shanahan. This is the game to look forward to in week 10. Okay, now we're moving on to week 11. This is, again, depending on Deshaun Watson if he plays this season. But I think at this point in the season, he should be back. And you already guessed it. It's a Browns game. But this time it's going to be at the Buffalo Bills in week 11. Why is this game so good? Well, the reason why I think this is a good game, because this is going to be a rematch for Josh Allen to play against Deshaun Watson. Now, the last time these two quarterbacks have faced each other, Josh Allen wasn't exactly the kind of quarterback that he was the last, 2 seasons after the Bills, second playoff appearance in like the last 20 years or so. But nonetheless, with Josh Allen being astronomically, with his numbers and much better than he was then. And then Deshaun Watson, who hasn't really played in really a year and, maybe even a year and a half. It's going to be interesting to really see who's going to be the better quarterback in this game. I'd like to see that run game get going with, in the Cleveland Browns to get going, to give it to the Buffalo Bills defense. I know that was a struggle for the Bills last year to stop the run. So, it's going to be interesting to see, are they going to be able to stop the run in Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt? And is Josh Allen really going to get his game going here with Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, and, other offensive weapons that he does have. So this is a great matchup. I really am looking forward to this one. I think it's going to be good between both the quarterbacks. We'll see how the Browns are at this point in the season. We'll see how Deshaun Watson is at this point in the season. This is a game to really look forward to. Then you go to week 12. Now, week 12 is a rematch of a game in 2018 that was one of the best games ever, in my opinion, at least in NFL history. The Los Angeles Rams going to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, this last time that both of these teams have met were both teams that could have very well been a Super Bowl matchup in the 2018-19 season. And actually really should have been this matchup between these two teams because of how electrifying both offenses were. But now with Matthew Stafford in town, and you've got Patrick Mahomes, who, he's still very good with all of his pieces to his offense that he does have. But I don't know how good the Rams defense is going to be able to cover Patrick Mahomes and his receivers. I just don't know. But of course, we all know the Kansas City defense is kind of lacking in a lot of areas. But nonetheless, this game, just like with the Rams and the Bucs and a couple of others, the Rams and the Chiefs both have explosive offenses, which means that there's going to be a lot of scoring in this game. Is it going to be as high of a scoring as like 54 to 51? Probably not. Very unlikely that will be the case, but I can definitely see this game getting pretty out of hand with the scoring once again. Could be somewhere in the 30s, could be somewhere in the 40s, something like that. But this is going to be a really good matchup. Last time these two teams have met, Jared Goff was playing for the Rams at the time, but now it's Matthew Stafford. Is Matthew Stafford going to be able to deliver it to the Kansas City Chiefs? We'll see. But this is going to be a really good matchup nonetheless. I'm really looking forward to this matchup. And we'll see how Jalen Ramsey on the Rams defensive side at the corner matches up with either Juju Smith-Schuster or McCole Hartman or a couple of their other receivers as well. This is going to be a really good game. I'm looking forward to this one. Looking forward to a great game. Then in week 13, you've got the Chiefs returning to Cincinnati to play the Bengals in a rematch of last year's AFC Championship game. Now, last year, the Bengals swept the Chiefs, actually. They beat them in week 17, where the Bengals were down by quite a bit, by a couple of scores, and they came all the way back to tie, and then they won on the last second field goal. And then the AFC Championship, same thing. The Bengals were down by quite a bit, by a couple of scores, came all the way back, tied it, went into overtime, and Patrick Mahomes threw a wild interception to give the Bengals into field goal range, and Bengals won that one, made it to the Super Bowl. You all know what happened there. But definitely Patrick Mahomes struggled in both of those games, and Joe Burrow and company gave it to the Kansas City secondary. I can definitely see that happening again. I think Joe Burrow is something really special for the Cincinnati team. I really wouldn't be shocked if the Bengals do win this game again, but it's going to be really good. I could see definitely a rivalry brewing within the next couple of years between Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow and both teams as well. So I'm really looking forward to this rematch once again. Go both teams, go Burrow, go Mahomes. Looking forward to this matchup. Then you go to week 14. Yes, I have to give them credit where credit is due. I like the Las Vegas Raiders going up against the Los Angeles Rams. I think this is a good matchup for a couple of reasons. One, because I think the Raiders have a pretty tough schedule this year, and there's a lot of teams that they do play that I do like their matchup with. But I think they match up pretty well with the Rams, honestly. And I kind of want to see how Davante Adams matches up with Jalen Ramsey and a couple of those really solid corners in the Rams, and seeing how they do against Davante Adams now that Derek Carr has a legit number one receiver finally. The Raiders do have some problems, that could give some teams some problems this year, especially to defenses with like Davante Adams. Now they have him, or they have a Hunter Renfrow and a Darren Waller. But honestly, this is a really good game because I think Derek Carr has every bit of possibility to be able to beat the Super Bowl champs in the Rams. And Matthew Stafford, this could be a field day for Matthew Stafford as well. While I think the Raiders defense has improved some, and I think they're very underrated, but I think Matthew Stafford with, those offensive explosive weapons in Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson, and a real strong run game and everything like that. I think that's going to give the Raiders some real problems, and I think Derek Carr could also give the Rams defense some problems too. So I'm looking forward to this game. This should be a good game. Go Derek Carr, go Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, go Devontae Adams. Let's get at it. And then you go to week 15. Now, this was another tough one for me because this was the same week that the Patriots were going to play against the Raiders, and that was going to be a good matchup. But I had to go with this one. Cincinnati at Tampa Bay. Joe Burrow versus Tom Brady. Doesn't get any better than that, right? Let's just be real, okay? Both offenses, they're both very similar to one another. Joe Burrow's got T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon. Tom Brady's got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Julio Jones, Russell Gage, Scotty Miller, Tyler Johnson, Leonard Fournette. Doesn't get any better than that. This could be, in my opinion, and I'm going to say it right now, this game could be the game of the year this year. I'm not even kidding. That's how electrifying this game is right here. And neither defenses are going to be able to stop one another. That's how good I believe this game is going to be. You have two great quarterbacks, and if a really special quarterback in Joe Burrow. We already know about Tom Brady. We already know that story. We already know he's the GOAT. He's been goated already. So, with that being said, this is going to be the next real solid, real explosive, high-scoring offensive explosion between both of these teams. Defense isn't going to even exist in this game. I'm so pumped for this game. I'm rooting for whoever I think is going to win this game. Let's get at it. I like this matchup. So make sure you check up on this game. Then in week 16, you've got, this is an interesting game, and this is actually a Christmas day. I believe this is Christmas night, actually, that this game is going to be played, but I'll double check on that in a little bit after I'm done with this. It's the Denver Broncos at the Los Angeles Rams. Now, we've known for the last couple of years, now that we know Russell Wilson is playing for Denver, it's, he's struggled a little bit against the Rams the last few years when he was with Seattle. And it definitely did show last year, especially in that game where he was a Thursday night football game and he got hurt with his thumb. But this could be a good game. And I think it's a good game because it's one of Russ's old rivalries when he was with the Seattle Seahawks. He struggled against this team, but partially because of that dreadful Seattle defense. Now that he's with a better team, on paper at least, with a strong defense, a pretty solid offensive scheme with Jerry Jeudy is good. Patrick Surtain is solid too, but some really good running backs in Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. This is a great, I think it's good in that aspect. I think there's a lot of running that the Broncos can do to beat the Rams if they just keep consistently running. But I could definitely see this being a defensive game between both teams. As I said before, I like old school defensive / I guess you could say running the ball a little bit to, low scoring games. I like the aspect of that. And I think this game could definitely be interesting for Christmas night. And I think Matthew Stafford could have a hard time with the Denver defense. So I'm really looking forward to this game. Yeah. Then in week 17, you've got two LA teams in the Los Angeles Chargers and the Los Angeles Rams. Again, this could also be a very explosive, high-scoring game for both teams. Justin Herbert, absolute baller. I think the only things that are going to, definitely haunt him a little bit is more of the defense of the Rams with Jalen Ramsey and, all those defensive linemen, everything like that. And Matthew Stafford could have, some rough times with Khalil Mack on the other side for the Chargers. And also it's a revenge game for Sebastian Joseph Day. And what I mean by that is he played, on the defensive side for the Los Angeles Rams. And now he was just traded in the offseason. So now he's going to across the locker room I guess you could say, to the Chargers. The Chargers really revamped on their defense. That could give Stafford some problems. But I'm really looking forward to this game, to the battle of the LA teams. It doesn't get any better than that. It's a great matchup. Then in the last week of the season, some people might find this surprising, but I think any team in the AFC West in the last week of the season is really going to be like, do or die time for any of the teams, really, because, some of them could make the playoffs, some of them could miss the playoffs. But I think the best one out of the two AFC West games that are going on, the Los Angeles Chargers at Mile High to play Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos. Now, we know the Chargers and Justin Herbert have struggled with the Broncos before in terms of defense. We saw that last year with Justin Herbert, who I believe he threw 2 interceptions against this Broncos defense. The Broncos defense is very good. And we've seen Justin Herbert struggle at Mile High. I think a lot of teams struggle when they go to play in Mile High, especially late in the season. This could be do or die time for the Broncos. This is really a really important game by both teams, because it's either going to claim the division title, or it could be clinching for a last wild card spot for either one of these two teams, depending on like how the rest of their season goes. So I could really see this being a like last year with the Chargers and the Raiders being the last game of the regular season, being on Sunday night on NBC. I can definitely see that game going, this game with the Chargers and the Broncos doing that. But nonetheless, this should be a really good game. I think Russ is going to have a pretty good game against the Chargers in the last week. They should have all their starters, I believe, playing this game. It's really going to be it's going to be a bar burner, this division of the AFC West. So this is going to be a really important game, and I think if they want to make the playoffs, or if they're in contention to win the division title, you got to play all your starters, and I think that's what's going to happen in Week 18 in this game. So that concludes to all of the week games for each week, all the best games in the NFL for each week for this season and the 2022 season. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Do you guys agree with any of the games that I told you about? Do you disagree? Explain to me why. Give me your feedback. If you guys like this video, if you want me to do more stuff like this in the future, please give me comments, suggestions, or advice as far as what you want me to do. Other than that, I hope you all have a great night, and I hope to hear from you all really soon. Thanks for watching. Peace.